My mom was 58 years old when she had went to the doctors and discovered that she had a lump in her breast. This lump she had found herself. So she went to the doctors just to get it checked out, and it was diagnosed as breast cancer. My mom did go through a mastectomy to get that treated before she started chemo and radiation. One day my mom had went with me to my friend's house to work on a project, and my mom started to not feel well while we were there. So we decided that it's time to go. I'll get my mom back home, and on the way home, my mom had passed out while I was driving. So I called 911, and I'm driving towards the hospital, and we meet up in a location with the ambulance so they could transport my mom to the hospital. A doctor came in and told me that my mom has pancreatic cancer. I didn't know how to feel about that because we were just in the hospital the month before, and they mentioned her having liver cancer and that they couldn't get enough cells from her pancreas for that biopsy. And now my mom's telling me she doesn't have much longer to live, and I'm being told she has pancreatic cancer. That Monday night, I could tell that it was coming, that I couldn't allow myself to go home because I felt it deep down that I don't think I would have been okay if I wasn't there when my mom actually passed. Myself, my sister, and two of my cousins were in the room, laughing, telling stories, and just sharing memories, which felt so good. And my mom passed during that moment of us just reminiscing, which I think was most appropriate. And that way she wasn't alone. So after my mom had passed and my doctors wanted me to look into genetic testing, I was very uncertain about it. I've never heard about it. I wasn't really sure. They didn't go too far into depth. They did explain it to me, but I didn't really understand it. I'm still going through a time of grieving and mourning. Anything that dealt with breast cancer felt like an attack. Fast forward to about 2 years later, I have a new primary care, a doctor I was actually more comfortable with as well. And after speaking to her, she's like, I really highly recommend that you get genetic testing done. I was also in a better mind space. I was in a better place in my life. I wasn't grieving as hard as I once was, so I decided to go forward with it. My grandfather had cancer, who was my mom's dad. My mom's mom had cancer. There were too many close relatives that had cancer, including my mother, to not have genetic testing done. I discussed my family history with my genetic counselor, and he had spoke with me about how my results can affect my future, not only for my own health, but also for when I have children. Even though I was hesitant, I did still pursue the testing and have that done. It was a big pill to swallow because I didn't understand what I was really walking into at this point. I know what I was getting tested for, but then when you hear that you test positive for a gene that deals with the cancer that your mom passed away from, that your grandfather passed away from, I didn't know what to do with myself. But I've continued my screenings throughout my pregnancy with no problem. I was only not able to get a mammogram, of course, for safety, but I was able to get an ultrasound and have my breast checked, and to be able to make sure that I am still healthy while carrying my child. Going through my screenings and, being told, okay, we see a lump, we get it checked out with a biopsy, and you're cancer-free, really makes me feel a lot better. When your family history points to, a possibility of it needing to be done, I think that is the time to do it. You're able to be a step ahead. You're able to catch something before it spreads like wildfire. I really don't see there to be a downside to genetic testing, to be honest, because you're gonna go and get tested and find out that you may or may not have a gene mutation. And if you do, you're able to take care of that and get the screenings that you need to have.